So, I arrived at the University of Illinois College of Veterinary Medicine the fall of 1987. It was orientation. We were all scared to death, and I started talking to this little girl from the North Shore suburbs of Chicago. Well, she liked to water ski and listen to blues music just like I did, so we kind of started to hang out. Everything was great until we went out to eat dinner with my family. Now, my mom and dad are the finest folks that have ever walked the face of God's green earth, but my dad was a construction worker. He spoke the vernacular of a working man. She looked down her nose like somebody had stepped in dog shit. And when I went up to the North Shore to meet her family, they asked that I park my 1974 Plymouth Valiant down the block a little bit. But she told me that she loved me. Nobody had ever done that before, and I wasn't confident that anybody would ever do it again. So we kept on dating all the way through veterinary school, and grades came a little bit more easily to her than they did to me. So she graduated a year before I did, and she moved to Jefferson, Wisconsin, the next great dairy vet. I graduated a year later in 1992, and lo and behold, there was a job just down the road at the Lake Mills Veterinary Clinic, so I took it. Man, we spent that summer going to all of our friends' weddings, and we were knocking on the door at 30 years old, and I'm pretty sure her bio clock was starting to tick. So she put my feet to the fire. I got the hint, bought myself a ring, got down on one knee, asked her if she would. She said, "I do," and we did. And for God's sakes, for the better part of 5 years, things were not that bad. So by 1998, I had bought a veterinary clinic, we had built a house, and we had 2 kids on the ground. But that was when she took her love to town. It started off playing soccer one night a week with the guys, get in shape, meet some new friends. Not a problem. Then came the difference in values. I wanted to send the kids to school in our town, put them on the school bus. She opted for school choice. I wanted for us to go to church on Sundays and introduce the kids to the element of faith that meant so much to me. She put them in hockey on Sunday mornings. I wanted us all 4 to sit down and eat dinner every night together as a family. And that one night a week playing soccer became 5, 6 nights a week, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes she did not come home at all. So my friends all told me that I should put her out, but I am a till death do us part cradle Catholic. And I cajoled as long as I could, and finally I moved to the basement of my own damned house. After 3 years, I was getting the kids ready for school one day, and I realized I did not even go to the garage and check to see if her car was there or not. I didn't care anymore. Unfortunately, judges are not kind to fathers. I owned my own business. I never missed a payment or a day's work, and I lived within a few miles of the kids' godparents. She, on the other hand, had lost every job she's ever had. She was in bankruptcy. I could have lined up witnesses from the courthouse to Culver's who would attest to the notion that she lied, she cheated on me, and she told anybody with ears that she would stop at nothing to get the kids as far away from me as she possibly could. When the gavel fell, that's exactly what happened, because the judge said my kids were better off living with her boyfriend, who was still married, an hour and a half away. So at 40 years old, I was at rock bottom, population 1. I was so mad I beat a hole in the drywall above the urinal on my favorite pub and cracked the dashboard of my pickup truck. So I went to a doctor and I got medicated, and I made a decision. I was moving the last of my possessions out of the house that I built, and I collapsed exhausted on the steps. I had a choice to make. For 20 years I had been criticized for the way I walked, the way I talked, for the way I made love. I had to decide whether I was a worthless piece of shit her insecurities required me to be, or whether I was a work in progress and a pretty good guy. I chose B. I went to the gym and I got strong. I got on my bike and I got fast, and I poured everything I had into being the best long distance father I possibly could. In came Labor Day 2010. I went down to the Tyranina Brewing Company to have a beer and listen to some country music. My friends Ned and Sarah came along, and they brought their friend Sheila. Now, Sheila had worked at the Jefferson Veterinary Clinic with my ex-wife. I had known her since the day I arrived in Wisconsin 20 years ago. And when guys got together and talked, the parting notion was always, man, there is something about Sheila. And it took me half a beer to feel what that something was all about. I asked her if she wanted to go swing dancing with me. And it took every gram of resistance I had in my body not to declare my love for her right then and right there. As it were, I held out for about a week. So, we have now been together for 12 years. And I can tell you, it was not my bench press, how fast I could ride a bike. It wasn't even the validation of 100 good friends. But it was those 20 years, and it was the strength of that conviction that I made sitting on the step of my house. So that when I met that woman sitting right there, beautiful, benevolent, kind, accountable, the woman who for the rest of my life will have my back every single solitary day but never give me a free pass, I grabbed a hold with both hands, and I will never let go until the day I die.